Good evening. This is James Exum, also known as Sakshi, coming to you from my home in South Austin, Texas. Today is November the 30th, 2025. It's 8:45 p.m. It's getting cooler here in the old capital city of Texas, and thank goodness for that. The heat wasn't too bad this summer, and I hope the winter isn't too rough. Getting down to business, I've just finished a discourse on the subject of focusing on the here and now. In modern psychology and psychiatry, that is replaced by the term of mindfulness. That was an idea that was introduced to the United States in the late 80s, early 90s by the great teacher from India of the Guru Satchidananda, who was also known as the Woodstock Guru. He was introduced to the United States and went to Woodstock. I believe the artist, here we go again, trying to remember things from half a century ago, but there was a certain artist that was very popular in those days that introduced him to, met him in Europe and brought him to the United States, and coincidentally he spoke at Woodstock. Satchidananda, he's gone now. He was my internet guru for several years, and I studied diligently listening to his presentations. What a wonderful man he was. What a wonderful man. So I've been recently recording out of Pica, out of my normal range of recordings on the subject of karma and having it come into play in the world now that we need it. When things get out of whack in the world, on Earth, Vishnu sends the Lord of Preservation, sends one of his avatars or one of his agents to the world to help right the wrongs and balance the books. Tonight I've done, I believe, 5 of those. Tonight I'm going to go back to my standard course on yoga philosophy. I think I've said enough on the subject of karma, and it seems to be, maybe it's coincidence, but it seems to be coming to fruition because with the Donald Trump sort of on the run, and the Congress sort of in revolt, and certain secretaries, the Secretary of War, so to speak, the Secretary of this and that and the other, they all seem to be putting their foot in their mouth or doing things that Congress and certain agents of Congress will be very, very interested in, and maybe even the police force of the United States. It seems like a few highly illegal things are going on, including perhaps international war crimes. Now, I'm not saying that's happening. And by the way, all of this is always my opinion. I am not naming any names tonight and shouldn't have named any names in the past. If I have, so be it. It's better to call out a wrong than to ignore it. It's also better to pass the word along to the rest of us that are trying to get along in a peaceful and constitutional, classic way, as opposed to fascism and dictatorship and kingships and things of that nature. After all, the United States was founded to get away from King George, who, by the way, went mad for a short period of time, and George IV, that was George III, and George IV, his son, took over as regent. He was the fat boy of the great empire of Britain, and just was really self-indulgent. And the general populace of England at that time could not stand him. His dad came back to his knowing himself again, his right mind, as they say. And I'm not sure if he went in and out or in and out, but that's all history, and we're not going there. We've gone there, but we're not going to stay there. Tonight's commentary is on focusing on the here and now in yoga philosophy, and I'm giving credit to insights from the great 8th century yogic writer and theologian and philosopher, and his name was Adi Shankara. It can be spelled Shankara, or it can be spelled Sankara. I prefer the shorter version. So here we go. I'll be reading from my manuscript that I finished a little while ago, and I'll also be making commentaries. As Shankara was a commentarian, I will be making my own commentaries on this subject here and there. Okay, so let's get to it. Understanding presence and mindfulness through classical Indian thought and philosophy. This ability to refrain from dwelling excessively on the past or the future is a powerful aspect of yogic practice. Now I'll stop there and make a commentary, which I will all the way through this discourse. The commentary beginning, excuse me, I got an itchy nose. I had a sneezing fit a short while ago when I was rearranging my desk. I suppose a lot of dust got in the air, and that is one thing I'm allergic to is dust. Highly allergic to it. The ability to refrain from dwelling excessively on the past or the future is a powerful aspect of yoga practice. I find personally, that if I dwell on the past, we tend to, human beings tend to, when they do go back to the past in their present day memories, the present moment memories, they tend to dwell on the negative aspects of the past. Now you can direct your mind to go back to happy days, happier days. I like the first day of school, the first grade at Riverside Elementary School in Moultrie, Georgia. That's one of my very favorite memories. I mean, very favorite memories. A lot of things having to do with school, elementary, junior high, high school, and even a short time out at UT, little college course out there, are favorites of mine. And those are pleasant memories. But generally, when we're just walking around the house or doing dishes or driving down the road, the mind, well, actually, it's the ego, seems to be drawn to the negative aspects of our past memories. And that's an unfortunate thing. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. My umbrella cockatoo was awakened by me recording. Sometimes he is. And I had to go in and convince him it's bedtime and to get himself to sleep, go back to sleep. So, like I said, sometimes when we're reflecting or daydreaming, we tend to go back to the past. And there's a tendency of the ego, who just loves itself and loves to wallow in the mire, as we used to say in the old South, to think about the negative things that happen. The old woe is me, feeling sorry for yourself. Well, self-pity is, as I used to say when I was a teenager, and I regret saying it to certain people, but in those days, but self-pity is the highest form of conceit. I don't know if I came up with that quotation, but I've been using it over 60 years now, I know that. So let's stay away from the negative aspects of the past, and let's stay away from the wishes and hopes of the future. Let's try to act naturally and clarify our thoughts when we are in the state of reminiscing or dreaming in the future, because that will help to naturalize our peace and clarity of mind. Shankara emphasizes that preoccupation with the past regrets or anxieties about what is yet to come distracts the mind from the natural from natural peace and peace of mind. By consciously letting go of these tendencies, practitioners can access a deeper state of tranquility and insight, allowing the present moment to become a gateway to the true understanding and reaching liberation, which is known as moksha. Moksha. Trying to adjust this camera. I'm still getting used to this new iPhone or Android phone. I don't know the difference. I promise you I don't, and don't really care. So in yoga philosophy, the concept of focusing on the present moment, the here and now, holds significant importance. The approach is not just a modern mindfulness trend, but is deeply rooted in classical Indian philosophy. Among the many influential thinkers, Shankara, which, as I said, can be spelled with an A or an H in the first two letters, who was an 8th century philosopher and theologian, provides valuable insight into the meaning and practice of presence within the yoga tradition. A lot of times when I write these discourses, because I am a yoga philosopher, most of my teachings come from the classical books of yoga philosophy, and Shankara rates right up there at the top of the boys, the great yogis that was foundational in the creation of what I teach. Shankara's philosophical background in yoga philosophy, the concept in Shankara's philosophical background, I'm sorry, I lost my place there. Shankara is best known for his commentaries on foundational texts such as the Brahma Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Upanishads. Now, if you don't know these volumes, these books, this is a good place to start if you're getting into yoga philosophy. Brahma Sutras, Brahma, and Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, which everyone I hope has heard of, and Upanishads. Now you can go to Yogapedia, and they'll give you some basic information on these books. You can also go to Wikipedia. And when I send people to Wikipedia, not only do I suggest they look up these particular terms in general, but also as you finish the articles, and some of them can become long articles and very involved, I always suggest to go to the sources and reference at the end of the article, and you will see a whole little list of bibliography, so to speak, of books used as sources in the article by experts and commentators and authors. And that's a good way also to expand your library, so to speak, for future reading. The present moment, let's see. So we ended with Upanishads. He is the principal proponent of Advaita Vedanta, a non-dualistic school of Hindu philosophy. You see, Hindu philosophy is different from yogic philosophy. Hindu philosophy has more to do with the Hindu religion. Yoga philosophy has more to do with the science of yoga. Yoga is a science. It is not a religion. So being an old yogi or yogin, I am not a religious personage. I'm more of a scholar. I'm a scholarly type. And don't let that turn you off. I try to keep it light and a little loose and with a little humor mixed in here and there, which I always found to be my better teachers when I was in school. Those folks that had a sense of humor and weren't dry as a scorching summer twig. And then it teaches that the ultimate reality is Brahman, who is the creator. So you have Brahman, the creator, you have Vishnu, the one I'm talking about with karma, as the preserver, and you have Shiva as the destroyer. Those are the three bases. Now they can be equated in a loose way with the Greek gods that made up the fates. When we say, oh, Fate calls that. Well, actually, it's not fate, it's fates, Fates, it's plural. And the fates are Lachesis, she's the young maiden. See, they're holding the string of life, and she's gathering from the spinning device, and she's pulling it and turning it into a thread, and then it's passed from her left hand up to Lachesis. Let's see, it's Lachesis. Well, I've gotten off subject, but you can look that one up too. The fates. It's 3 fates. The last one is a tropos, and the one in the middle for Clotho Lachesis. There's how it starts. Clotho is the spinner. Lachesis is life, and Atropos is death. So you have the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer. That's the Greek version of Brahman and so forth. The present moment in Shankara's teachings. Well, first we want to remember that Advaita teaches that the ultimate reality is Brahman, which is also known as pure consciousness, and that our everyday experience of separateness stems from ignorance, which is also known in Sanskrit as avidya. This is vocabulary. You develop your vocabulary at your pace and your speed and the depth of your interest. You don't have to take any notes when I speak. If you want to, that's up to you. But, go at it. Everybody goes at things differently. Everybody learns how to drive differently. Everybody learns how to date differently. Everybody learns how to educate themselves on a different plane. So just go for it. But go for it with sincerity in your heart. Don't go for it as a just sort of a pastime. It started for me as a transition out of the physical yoga, the asanas. I just decided one day I was more interested in the academic side of yoga, which is the philosophy. So you can shift that direction if you like, or don't. It's okay either way. There are no set and fixed rules in how to learn yoga philosophy, as far as I know. The present moment in Shankara's teachings, although Shankara's work do not always use the exact phrase here and now, that's the phrase I've titled this work with, the emphasis on direct experience and awareness is central to his teachings. He encourages seekers to transcend past memories and future anticipations. That's what I started off with. Don't get lost in past memories, especially negative ones, and don't get lost in the dreamy world of future anticipations. Here and now is what you should be focusing on instead of the immediate reality of consciousness. Focus instead on the immediate reality of consciousness. This is reflected in several key themes. And I don't know how it started happening, but lately I've been creating bullet points, which I will list in my descriptive box below the title of this once I transfer this to YouTube. I'll transfer these bullet points for you. Direct experience over conceptualization. Shankara asserts that liberation, which is moksha, which is the goal of yoga studies, is realized not through intellectual speculation, but through immediate direct knowledge of the self. Now, the self is known as the Atman, A-T-M-A-N. This knowledge is accessible in the present moment, not in some distant future. Witnessing awareness. In his commentary, Shankara often described the self as the witness, which is Sakshi. Well, you heard me say at the beginning, I am James Exum, also known as Sakshi. Sakshi means the witness. And why am I also known as Sakshi? Because a long decades ago, I decided I would give my soul a name. Because I was loose communication with it in those days. I'm in deeper communication with it nowadays. But that's another subject, and there's also a video very early in this series I've done that dwells exactly on that subject of how to get together with your soul and get a deeper communicative relationship. So Sakshi, which is my soul, helps me with all my mental activities, thoughts, emotions, and sensations to access this witnessing state. Practitioners are encouraged to observe their mental processes as they arrive, or especially anchoring yourself in the present moment. Detachment from past and future. Shankara teaches that attachments to memories or worries about the future create suffering, and the vice versa. The past can do the same thing. In fact, the past is a more common, going back to the past in your memories is a more common thing than going to the future in your expectations, aspirations, or fantasies. It's more common. More people have concentrate on the past and the problems of the past than on planning their futures. If you don't believe me, just look around and go into any little formal group setting and see what the subject matter is, especially if someone mentions their grandchild or their school they went to. Just see how the subject matter balloons outward from the mere suggestion, as opposed to people talking about future expectations, great expectations. Detachment from the past and future. He teaches that attachment to memories or worries and those about the future help create suffering. By cultivating detachment, which is in Sanskrit called varasha, one can remain centered in the present where the true nature of reality is revealed. And that word is Vairagya. Practical applications in yoga. Shankara's insight inform many yoga practices that emphasize being present. These include mindful meditation techniques such as dhyana meditation, encourage practitioners to observe thoughts and sensations without judgment, returning attention to the present moment. Then you have self-inquiry, which is called atmanavachara, inspired by Shankara. This practice involves questioning, who am I? We very seldom, if you're a non-yogic, yoga type person, sit around and think to themselves, who am I? But it opens a lot of doors and helps the mind shift from the ego up towards the soul communication, as I was speaking of earlier. If you want to know who you are the soul. The body is a mere transport for the soul while it's on earth. It's on earth, from Brahman, the creator, and it's here to help you. It's that little voice that whispers righteous things to you and alerts you when things seem dangerous coming at you in the future. But you have to learn to listen to it. And then later on, you'll learn to communicate, as I have. That's why I'm an old yogi. One of the reasons. The fact I'm old is self-apparent. So once you start saying, who am I, and resting in the awareness that is always present, then you'll see, regardless of changing experiences, you are stable. If you know who you are, then you don't have to impress anyone about anything. You just have to stay on the right path, which is called dharma, and you have to practice proper actions and detachments here on earth, and that's karma. Non-attachment. Yoga philosophy recommends letting go of clinging to outcomes, which helps practitioners stay grounded in the present. Well, that very thought, that bullet point, that number 3 in these applications, is the reason I wrote this discourse tonight. This evening, I said to myself, I'm getting bogged down in this political discussion that I'm writing discourses about for my readers and my followers. I don't have many followers. I've had quite a few visits. I have almost 1,700 visits since May of this year on my site. I'm right at 71 or 72 videos. Hope to hit 100 by the end of the year. This all started out as sort of a game to myself to teach through modern technology and modern social media. Other people are doing it and they're getting these high ratings. I'm not interested in ratings. I'm interested in personal results from my listeners by supplying them with adequate and accurate knowledge. Non-attachment yoga philosophy recommends letting go of clinging to outcomes, which helps practitioners stay grounded in the present. And this is what I mean by grounded. Modern relevance, the teachings of Shankara focusing on the here and now resonate with contemporary mindfulness practices. Remember, my old teacher, my old guru, Satchidananda, when he came to America, he was also became associated with the VA, the Veterans Administration, and I think hospitals out of Houston, and he taught them about mindfulness. He didn't call it mindfulness, but he taught them about it, and that's how it became part of the medical practice and applications here in the United States. He is the one that introduced that to the United States. It did not come out of some philosopher's mind, American philosopher, general philosopher, or some psychiatrist or some psychologist. It came from an old yogi, my old hero. He's gone now, and I miss him so much. The teachings of Shankara on focus on the here and now resonate with contemporary mindful practice. His emphasis on direct experiencing, witnessing awareness, and detachment provides a profound philosophical foundation for living in the present moment. And the side effect, it reduces stress, and the great effect is it fosters inner peace. So here's our conclusion. We'll be wrapping this up. It looks like it's going to be a 30-minute video. The conclusion is focusing on the here and now as a timeless practice in yoga philosophy, deeply explored in the works of Shankara. By understanding and applying these teachings, practitioners can cultivate a state of presence that leads to greater clarity, peace, and self-realization. If you see me doing this strange thing with my face, and it's like I'm burping, but I'm really not. I have a Parkinsonian-like disease that affects my lower limbs mostly, and my left hand, as far as the vibration, the comes and goes vibration, the shaking. I'm not like that young man that from Back to the Future. I think he's gone now. I think he left us this year, but he did a great deal to raise money and awareness for Parkinson's. It's not that easy to live with, but after dealing with it for going on a decade and a half now, I accepted it early and learned to work around it, and here I am still being productive at 75 years old. And I intend to be productive as long as Brahman allows these lungs to inflate and deflate, and that heartbeat, that human pump to send that nourishing red blood cells through my system. By staying busy, you stay young, no matter how old you are chronologically. And I'm a busy beaver. All that art you see behind me, I created that. I have several major hobbies. Well, that's a bit of egotism, and I'll get away from that. So, as usual, I'm going to close with these words. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, that's wonderful. If you didn't, well, at least you got to listen for a while, and maybe you'll come back. Maybe you won't. Either way, it's okay. And then be good to yourself, be good to others, and be good to strangers. And know that karma is active in Washington, D.C. right now, and hopefully things will get straightened out. And bless Brahma for letting Vishnu send his avatars to help us get out of this mess. And good night to you, and thanks again.